So, um, considering that Donald Trump looks like he may have lost up to 10 points on margin from last year comparatively with white male voters, what does that say about the reality of Joe Biden's candidacy, his election, and his future presidency? I mean, and I'm going to look at two issues. The first one being his embrace of the Fauci CDC COVID-19 mask slash social distancing policy compared to the 1994 crime bill, and how perceptions about the utility of each tend to change and can be expected to change over time. And I contend that not even in 25 years, but in maybe a year and a half, we're going to find that a lot of these policies were more throwing paint against the wall as opposed to being something grounded in actually sound, unified science, public policy, sociology. So, you look at today, Joe Biden heartily embraces the idea of everyone wearing a mask mandates, and the limitations on businesses in regard to attempting to slow down the spread of COVID-19. Now, go back to 1994, 1993, because there's a lot of people today that say those policies are extreme, they're excessive, and that we don't need to do that much, and that they do not merit their impact on the situation. People say, hey, we got a problem here. We got a problem here. It's a dramatic problem. And that's reasonable. But when people, both the progressives and many of the black intersectional, black justice idealists, many of the social justice warriors, what have you, said that the 1994 crime bill was extreme and was something that should not have happened. And they look at it outside of the context of what's going on. It was just simply, look what they did, look at the negative impacts. It didn't help, boom, boom, boom. Therefore, Joe Biden was bad and he's part of the prison industrial complex. Then you have Republicans who said, gee, Joe Biden, he's a threat to the centrist margins, the independents who might pick him over Biden. So then they made an attack on Joe Biden, attempting to cleave off some of his expected black and Latino support by saying, hey, Joe Biden, this is Mr. Crime Bill, boom, 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 boom. So you have people on the left and the right attacking the crime bill based off the idea that it was extreme, that compared to the problem at hand, it was not the right thing to do. But let's go back to 1993 and look at the figures and facts and see if maybe the mentality behind supporting that crime bill in part is connected to the type of mentality that causes us to embrace the Dr. Fauci mandate thing. Now, these are two totally different situations, two totally different approaches. You're talking about criminal justice versus public health. That being said, the sense of urgency, there's a problem, we got to deal with it, so let's implement this very intense and inclusive policy, very restrictive policy in both instances, is based off a mentality, which is do something. We want the government to do something. We want the government to save us from COVID-19. We want the government to save us from crime. In 1993, crime was the number one thing people were concerned about. I don't know what you want to say, but down here in Tower Grove Park, it was considered dangerous. It was not considered a place where people could walk their dogs safely. People at night, Tower Grove Park was considered a dangerous place. Cherokee was not the bustling commercial center that it was seen to be before the COVID-19 thing hit. It was dangerous. It felt like when you went out at some point in time, particularly if you're a black male, and I was in that age group that had the highest levels of casualties and the highest levels of victimization at that time, you felt like you were living and socializing in the context of being under siege. Most black men were not thugs. Most black men were not involved in gang culture. Most black men were just the same as white men. That age group, they want to have fun. They want to make money. They want to live their lives. They want to meet a nice girl or meet a nice boy or what have you. But there was a difference, and let's just be honest. There was a difference in who was doing the murdering. I mean, you can talk about institutional racism all you want, but here's the fact. The fact is, in 1993, the crime rate was literally double what it is now. You're talking about somewhere between, depending on how they broke it down, 750 to 780 crimes per 100,000. You know, back in 1993. And again, we need to be honest about the particular crime of murder. Per capita, it was a bigger problem for black people when it came to perpetrating murders and when it came to being victims of murders, plain and simple. The data is unquestionable. The data is not something that is up for debate. And I think that's, when you get into the idea of fixing problems in a community, I'm in the category of Thomas Sewell, the category of Glenn Rowley, the category of John McWhorter and Coleman Hughes. You got to have the facts first. And you can't worry if the facts make white people or right-wing white people feel good and feel like they're right. It doesn't matter. And I never heard these facts really engaged. I had to find these out on my own. And the black intellectual orthodoxy at the time, the white progressive orthodoxy at the time, did not want to discuss these things because they wanted to win. And they wanted to make a statement against, at the time, right-wing jock stockbroker America. So they basically would demonize you for dealing with the realities at hand. In 1993, according to the Bureau of Crime Statistics, in 1993, black men 18 to 24 accounted for 1% of the total population, but 18% of all murder victims and 35% of all murderers. It's a fact. Not dealing with that fact doesn't help black people in any respect. Young black men in this group were victimized at a rate of 195.9 per 100,000. And 365 out of 100,000 black men in this category were murderers. Now you have to put that in perspective. Okay? That is 3.65 out of every 1,000 people, young black men 18 to 24, are murderers. As a young black person at that time, in that age range, you can sit there and saying that, oh, that helps the white man, blah, 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 blah. But you're not understanding how that has shaped today's culture. We don't just start all over again every 1 year or 2 years. That is something, that's the first time we really encapsulated that. And blaming rap music is absolutely naive and dishonest. 3.65 out of every 1,000 black men you meet is a murderer, according to this. How long does it take to run into 1,000 young black men? Young black men were not liberal about this fact. You saw older black folks say, don't say that. You see white liberals say don't say that. The young black men who were 18 to 24 were saying that's the reality.